Hello and welcome to When They Popped. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Mary, and today we're going behind the curtain with Jade Driver, co-founder of CrowdSurf Digital Marketing Agency, who you'll probably remember from a fantastic two-part episode from last year. But this time we're so excited we get Jade with her partner in crime and co-founder, Cassie Petrey. Together, they manage social media for some of music's biggest names, including the Backstreet Boys. Now, unless you've been living under a literal rock, the Backstreet Boys have been incredibly busy lately. They announced a new album, Millennium 2.0, which celebrates the 25th anniversary of the original album, and a residency at the Sphere. Along the way, we got teasers and breadcrumbs encouraging fans to piece together this huge announcement. And these ladies have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make it all happen. Today's episode is dedicated to the brilliant unveiling of this campaign and the women behind it.
We were so inspired by Jade's story as a business owner in our last episode with her, and we heard from so many of you, our listeners, that your favorite interviews are the ones that take you behind the scenes. So we're thrilled to hear Jade and Cassie's stories about this campaign, those candid moments, the genius seating of the M&Ms, a string of iconic performances, and the insights that only Jade and Cassie can share from working so closely with Backstreet Boys during this very exciting era. So from strategy development to execution, we're going to get an insider's look at how CrowdSurf orchestrated this massive moment while bridging Y2K nostalgia with today's digital landscape. Jade and Cassie, welcome to When They Popped.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for giving us some of your time. We know you are busy. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of this campaign, Cassie, you're a new face with us on When They Popped. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and who your favorite Backstreet Boy is?
Oh,
She chose
wow.
violence.
I went rogue.
So, first, I guess I'll talk about myself. I actually feel like I can nail this really quickly because of that whole action figure trend where you have to like pick your accessories, which I've had the best time making them for other people and picking people's accessories that go in the packaging. But for mine, I did put a little Millennium CD in mine. I love Mexican food, but not that high end. So I put in a Taco Bell mild sauce packet. I love the ocean and turtles, both sea turtles and land turtles. So I definitely put a sea turtle in there. And recently I have become obsessed with surfing, not crowd surfing, but the actual one in the water surfing. So that's another big part of my life now. And in terms of addressing the favorite Backstreet Boy question, one of my favorite stories was we were at dinner with AJ and he asked me that question, like, who was your favorite Backstreet Boy growing up? And I was like, I don't want to tell you. And he's like, well, I know it wasn't me because if it was, he would have told me. And I was like, you're so right. It was a mortifying moment for me.
And you don't actually have to answer.
Did you tell
thank
him
you.
that?
Yes, she does.
She loves them all equally, as we all do.
I have known Cassie for 20 years, 21 years in August. I've run a business with her for 18 years in August. I thought I would have died on this. I would have bet double jeopardy on this, knowing who Cassie's favorite Backstreet Boy was. And 3 years ago, she told me someone else.
She's
A twist. Do you think you know someone?
And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Cassie, you're an enigma. We can't wait to get to the middle of this mystery.
I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite Backstreet Boy, but moving on, we're so excited to talk to you guys about this campaign you guys did. And so for Millennium 2.0, the announcement, how does a project of this scale come to your desk? Do you just get an email one day hey, we're going to do this?
To be honest, the rumblings of the idea had been going on for years. So it wasn't completely new. And I would say a serious meeting happened maybe 2 years ago.
Wow.
And it was a Zoom with literally the Backstreet Boys management, production.
A lot of people flew in for it. They all said it like a big
I think I was one of the
table.
only people that was remote, actually.
I was remote too. I was sad I wasn't in LA for it.
We were the only.
It felt like the big meetings you saw in documentaries
Yes.
growing up, and I was sad I wasn't in town for it.
I don't know how they could have. They must have got a redwood tree that was protected to cut a conference table that big. I mean, it was. There were so many people there, but it was cool because I mean, the Backstreet Boys obviously want our opinions and work with us and like our creativity, but like, it felt like one of the first times I had been in like a room with all 5 of them going, what do you think? You know what I'm saying? Like a very like, what do you remember about the Millennium Tour? What is a non-negotiable? Like that whole thing. So like there were just I was like, I have been waiting for these questions my whole life, type of deal. So that was really cool. And I would say like, I don't know if work started happening, the next day, but like kind of soon after, like the first logistics kind of started. And, as far as when everything that you have seen now was shot, that was last June. So, I mean, that was, 9 months before the world saw any of this stuff. So there's a really long production time on all kinds of things like this. To be honest, even today, like we are still on like the content side sorting things, and not that I've been working on it every day for 9 months, but, you kind of got to January and I was like, okay, let's go. Like this is, and we knew that was coming and it was coming February and all that. But I think that was when we really on our side took all this stuff that we had kind of prepared for and done and shot, 6 months before that and said, okay, now it's go time. Let's pull this out of the chest and do the things. Cause obviously there's so many pieces to it. We're just one of the very small pieces of the giant puzzle. But at the same time, it's cool because although it's one small piece, like every small piece is something that, you couldn't live without. And
you need it.
You couldn't see any of this stuff without. So, that the work you'll be doing will be seen by the world and seen by the people interested in this. So it's cool in that sense.
I have to ask, you were asked about the non-negotiables of the Millennium Tour. Did you tell them that the surfboards were non-negotiable?
I did. It doesn't mean they're going to do it. I mean, that like any of my non-negotiables are going to happen, but I don't know these things. But obviously, that was the first thing to come out of my mouth. I mean, that's not a question. So
the voice of the fans.
Look, I will say, like, when it comes to the production of the show, we're not really a part of a lot of that. Like, I would say, like, a lot of times, like, a lot of that gets done by professionals that do that. We do then interject opinions, and sometimes changes have been made because of us, because of that. A lot of times they haven't. But, it is great that there is an open line of communication there to say, like, hey, like, no, I'm interested. Like, you're allowed to talk. You're allowed to bring these things to the table. So I would say the non-negotiable that I personally said was like when AJ sings, when we turn out the lights and he snaps and the arena lights go down. That's my big hill to die on.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, like, I think that the Sphere is a venue that you're not going to be able to recreate that show in it. It's not the right layout. I'm sure there'll be nods to things, but I haven't really seen all the creative on it, but I just, somebody who actually like has to put together tours as a job now for some artists, it's going to be impossible, I think, to do certain things in a venue like that. But there's going to be some things that would have never been possible with the songs of that era that you'll get to see in a really cool venue.
That's such a good point. While it's not going to be a carbon copy of the Millennium show we saw back in the day, it's going to bring a lot of probably the sense of it and modernization and a really cool venue. Speaking of the Sphere, what came first? Did you know about 2.0 or did you know about the Sphere?
No, it was more the idea of 2.0. So like, again, when that question was asked, I'm definitely thinking arenas. Like I don't even know if the Sphere was open at that time, to be honest. So no, I think everything kind of fell together in the way it was supposed to in that sense. But yeah, I mean, look, I have no idea even what the Sphere looks like inside because I've never been there. So
me neither.
Well, the thing that's interesting about the Sphere is that, like, I don't think the Millennium Tour really had screens besides a video camera, and the Sphere is all screen.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be something interesting to think about. It's like, what do these songs look like on tour with a giant screen and screen production?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm curious from my market research, what are y'all's non-negotiables from the Millennium Tour?
Whoa.
Okay, well, yeah, surfboards are definitely a big one. Those little jungle gym things that they climb on during Don't Want You Back. I feel like they could recreate that in the Sphere.
Yep. I remember
I also really appreciate, I don't know if this is possible in the Sphere, but I know in the original tour, they did a lot of acrobatics. They were hanging from the ceiling. It was just very cool, spraying people with water bottles. As long as we get the songs, that's really all I care about.
The vibe of it. Like,
right.
Wasn't Millennium kind of like almost like a Star Wars vibe at a time?
Yeah. Like in the Star Wars intro. Yeah.
I'm curious if they're going to keep kind of that or if it's going to just, I don't know if I have non-negotiables. I'm just more like curious and trying to picture how they do it in my mind. Because like Cassie, like you said, this is just such a unique venue and I'm so excited.
Goosebumps.
I mean, like, I think the thing to remember is like, and Kevin and them have said this, they said it on the Today Show and all this, is like, it's not going to be a recreation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, we all have these very fond memories of the Millennium Tour and, early conversations. Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. But, there are experts that put together shows at this magnitude, not what I do for a living. So I don't know what it's all going to look like. Like, I'm going to be there. I mean, I'll probably see it maybe a little before the first night, but like, probably that week is going to be the first time I see it. And like, I don't know what to expect. I'm expecting something different. And I think that's the key thing is like being open to looking at, like Kevin said, like the future and not the past. And like, what is the future of something that happened 25 years ago?
It would be great if he started the show with, "Are you ready?"
Yes.
to-"
Right?
Yes.
Right?
I think everyone will just faint right then and
Right.
there.
Are you ready to party?
So, as Backstreet Boys fans yourself, obviously, I know this is your job, but is it at all difficult keeping a secret this huge like this for so long?
Yes.
And I think also like from a work perspective too, because like there's some stuff that still hasn't been seen yet that I think the piece of content that I'm most proud of that I've ever worked on has still yet to be shown. It's not on the internet. And it kills me to like not be able to share that both from a fandom perspective and from a professional perspective as well.
Can't wait to see it. I'm sure you guys have been crushing it.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff that people have not seen yet that they will see.
There's still a lot of
There's a lot to come. There's a lot of
Yeah.
content to come. Yeah.
I feel like I have goosebumps.
It is very strategically being rolled out. So,
I mean, let's talk about the strategic rollout.
Yeah.
So I'm sure when you started this campaign, you had like an initial vision for what the rollout would look like. Did anything get left on the cutting room floor early on where you were like, damn, I wish we could have done that?
honestly, no. I feel like I did everything personally. I feel like I did everything I wanted to do and more. I'm one of these people that like, if I get an idea, it's going to happen quickly. You know what I'm saying? So even like the M&Ms, I think I came up with that like a month before. And I was like, what if, And actually, I was just remembering back. I think it might have been that I was scrolling through pictures and we actually had done Backstreet Boys M&Ms about 10 years ago. Like literally there were ones that said hot, hot, hot on them. I think it was when Kat was working for us and that was the promotion she did. And we just sent them to, I don't know, the fan club or something. But like I remembered that because I was trying to think like, what could I print the new photos on that don't give too much, So I really wanted like core fans to get them that were like, wait, type of thing. So, I just kind of put the ideas together and pitched it and it kind of was what it was. But it was funny because I uploaded the photos and it's like copyright. I'm like, how do you know I don't own these photos? Nobody's ever seen this photo, Eminem. So I had to get on the phone with Eminem's and be like, listen, I am the Backstreet Boys.
Iconic.
Luckily, the woman I talked to was a fan and she's like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like they got them to me in like 2 days and I didn't have to like pay that fee. Like they were in my box. Like they got there really quickly. So
Shout out to her.
she got it through because they were like, I think the big thing was because Kevin's like this. They don't do not front facing. And I'm like, as a Backstreet Boys fan, do you think it would be fair to put a different picture of Kevin when I'm revealing the album, the greatest album of? She's like, no, I totally get your point. So she got Kevin's side profile through the Eminem machine. I don't really know how it works, but
Okay, let's talk about the M&Ms. So for anyone who's living under a rock and not aware, so these were the M&Ms that were seeded out on Valentine's Day. And each recipient got a pack of M&Ms with a Backstreet Boys face on it. So these were the never-before-seen photos that recreated the original Millennium album cover, but today. So that's why the photos had never been seen before, but they all looked familiar. Like Howie with his hands, like I had Howie, and he's doing like the prayer hands almost, like looking down. And it was like a piecemeal, like you said, Jade, like a breadcrumb Easter egg moment. And there were so many boy band detectives out there who they got it. And I'm kicking myself because the poem that came with it, it made a reference to No Goodbyes, which everyone here listening knows that is the alternative version of I Want It That Way that quote unquote makes sense.
No goodbyes, ain't nothing but a party.
And I didn't pick it up at the time.
really?
And I was like, what is this line? Like, why does it sound so familiar? But it just didn't click until a day later. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so dumb.
Well, it's funny because like, honestly, the reason they got sent out the way they did in like individual packets was because you can't do more than a certain number of M&Ms in a packet. Like, so I couldn't do 5. And I'm like, oh, I can't do. And then I was like, what if, so I did a whole thing. So, and then, I picked the M&M clip art. So like, I remember because I was like doing them on the website and like making, the little samples and like sending them to Cassie. And I'm like, what do you think of this? And what do you think of this? And so it was like, they're all very strategic, like how we got the rose little picture clip art that Eminem has. And like every one of them was very, very specific. And then like, I chose a song with lyrics that I felt like reminded me of each one of the boys. And like, yeah, it was very planned out.
So thoughtful, so smart. So speaking of No Goodbyes, as fans, like what was your reaction to hearing that song would be on Millennium 2.0?
Oh, if we want to talk about non-negotiables, this was my hill to die on.
Oh, yes.
Not that I had to die on it. It was like, this is the most important thing to me in the entire world. And to be honest, I think it's one of those things that like I didn't have to fight to the death for it. But I don't know if it would have been thought of. I don't know. But like that was one of my first, can we release? So yeah, I feel like, I don't know, that holds a special place in my heart because that felt like a thing that I was very excited about. And like probably like the thing I'm honestly, when it comes to the album, like 100% the thing I'm most excited about.
Us too. I wanted that to be on the Cancun 30 for 30 set list so badly.
Was it on the voting?
It was. I was like, this is a unicorn. This might be the only
I can see. Yeah, I mean, I came up with the list. This is probably why, because they probably didn't know it.
It's got to be tough. I mean, you sing the same song for however many, 25 years.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's got to be.
No, I mean, it was, I don't think it was voted for anything, because like I had said before, like, there were a few things that got voted for that we couldn't do because we just didn't have the tracks for them. So obviously we would have had the track for that. But I don't think it was in the.
I mean, one thing I will say is you would be surprised as what tracks have to be rebuilt for a live show. I think they've had to rebuild like pretty much everything at this point. Like they've even rebuilt like, I don't want to get the song wrong, but like a really big popular like hit song. They've had to rebuild these tracks. So a lot of times it's not easy to just like, not just for them, but for like any artist to just like, especially pop artists to just like bust out these songs because you'll go to the label and they'll be like, do you have these files so I can build a live track? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Nobody that worked here at this time is around anymore to find it. And so like, it's actually like really hard to find these like old music files that are like built out beyond like the MP3 that we all have sometimes. It's wild, actually. Yeah.
I remember them saying that on stage. They were like, Howie found this in his email from
that's so true. That happens all the time.
Girl. So like, I remember because I was at the rehearsal. I told the story in the other podcast. But like, yeah, I was at the rehearsal and I was like, you're 31 this week. And they were like, oh. And so somebody said something like, how he's like, I might have Poster Girl. I'm going to look again. And I was like, yeah, go look. And so he did. He found it right then. And that's why that happened.
So when you say rebuilt, do you mean like brick by brick rebuilding the song, basically?
Like re-recording every instrument.
Yeah. Or like reprogramming it depending on what type of song it is. But yeah, they'll have to like basically like reproduce the entire track and try to, either they can change things they want in it or or sometimes people try to make the track sound as close to the original as possible. But a lot of times you can't find stems, which is basically means like each layer of a song is its own MP3. So you'll have like an MP3 that's just drums, an MP3 that's just vocals, that's just background vocals, that's just synthesizer, that's just, whatever. Stems for a song there can be like 100 stems in a song. Like it's a lot of files. And it's crazy how a lot of artist teams, and I don't know anything about like how they catalog their stems, but in general in the music business, this stuff is not like well taken care of or well organized at all. So people have to rebuild songs all the time to be able to incorporate them into shows, and hiring a song to basically be reproduced that was like a hit song that probably cost over $100,000 to make in the first place is not an inexpensive thing to do.
Wow. So No Goodbyes, we should expect their voices now.
No. Because the thing is, that's just on the album. It's just the demo.
Got it. So this is
the one that we all downloaded from LimeWire.
The one that's on YouTube that I listened to.
Yeah, Cassie's specifically talking about live show tracks because we were talking about for 30. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if somebody's like, I want to play an old song live, and they go to the record label and they're like, hey, we want to play this song live. Can we get all the files so we can build out a track to sing to it live at the show? A lot of times they're like, I don't have that. It's like it doesn't
buy a karaoke track.
Yeah.
Karaoke time.
Yeah, right?
So let's talk about some of the performances that you guys, we were just hanging on your Instagram stories. We wanted to see all the behind the scenes to announce and celebrate the debut of Millennium 2.0. We got 2 iconic performances. I want to start with SNL's 50th anniversary. I posted a TikTok of my live reaction, like watching it on screen. And I was fully crying, like fat tears, seeing every celebrity in that room across generations just singing along gleefully. TikTok did flag it for copyright, narcs, but I mean, the guys are also wearing those outfits that are paying homage to their original SNL performance in 1999. AJ's hat. I mean, how did that feel for you guys seeing that come to life?
Well, we weren't there.
I remember you saying, Jade, that you had to leave New York City for something on your social.
Because my nephew, the love of my life, more important than the Backstreet Boys, he wanted to go see a concert of a little YouTuber at a club. So I left. I gave my pass and ticket, whatever you want to call it, to SNL 50, to Grace, who works for us, because I went to a club in a town in North Carolina, I can't tell you where on the map it is, to see a YouTuber.
Auntie of the Year.
But I will say, I think the coolest thing about it is Tierney, our wardrobe stylist, specialist, whatever you call it. She's amazing. I mean, she's been with them, I don't know exactly how long, but before I was there, and we've been around for 13, 14 years, so forever. But she's just a genius. Like the things she pulls off and things she does. I know that particular look she was very excited about to mimic, you know, what they originally did on SNL and whatnot. So I know for her, that was a big moment and she was really excited about that. But unfortunately, just because we got so busy with content around obviously that week and, you know, launching the actual ticket sales and all that, I think a lot of people missed because we didn't post it till a week later, but there's a video of Bill Murray watching Mary didn't see it, watching their rehearsal, like holding some sort of sign, singing "I Want It That Way."
It was like Miley Cyrus's like cards.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Things in the seats, yeah. But it kind of got lost in the shuffle of like all the content. And I was like, wait, we have to go back to that. We can't. But it didn't like perform well in the algorithm because, I don't know, it just didn't. But like, I don't feel like everybody's seen that. But there's a really cool video on our Instagram of Bill Murray singing "I Want It That Way," you know, in the audience to the Backstreet Boys of rehearsal. So I thought that was really cool.
I'm going to go find that.
Yeah, it was really cool to see all the people like on the special, like Paul Rudd, like people just like singing to the song and everything. So yeah, I thought it was really rad.
But were you there? Because we got so much content from you guys at Good Morning America.
Yeah, I literally went to the Today Show and then I went to the coffee shop. No, went to the Today Show. Then I left early because there was not enough room in the van to meet them in the middle of Times Square to take a picture with the billboard. Then I went to the coffee shop pop-up. Then I went back to New Jersey and drove to Virginia. So,
oh my God. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
by the end of the day, it was one of those days where like you were so tired that I was like crying because I was just like, everything was wrong, but I know nothing was really wrong. It was just sleep deprivation. And it was Valentine's Day. So it was really fun to be like, what are you doing for Valentine's Day? I'm going to be with the Backstreet Boys.
Like what we all dreamed of saying, right?
Yes.
You get to say it. So any fun memories or stories like in those moments with the guys, like as they prepared to, you know, do the announcement, do that performance?
I mean, honestly, when you get to that moment, like, you know, obviously cool things happen and this and that, but like you're so like regimented and ready that it's more like you're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Like the rest of the sentence is written. So you're just like, oh, that. And like, okay, everybody, you know, it's just you're executing the thing you have done all the planning for, you know? So it's actually, I don't know, sometimes it's almost like calm before the storm almost becomes the calm of the storm unless something goes wrong. And I feel like when you're really prepared, things do go smoothly. I will say, I felt like, and granted, I treated this with like the utmost importance, this rollout, but like, I think it was one of the smoothest rollouts I ever did as far as like literally nothing went wrong. I also am very proud that I felt like, you know, you're always going to have your people that complain, but like overall, the fan sentiment seemed positive. And like, it's not like, oh, we should have thought of this thing. They're asking this thing that, why didn't I think about it? I feel like we thought of like mostly everything because again, like it took so long to plan. It took years. I mean, like I went over those FAQs, me and Kat from Please and Thank You, like a million times, you know, I mean, it was like everyone had their eyes on everything. You know what I'm saying? So like if somebody else forgot it, somebody else is like, there's that one thing. There's that one I or T you didn't cross or dot, you know? And so I felt like a lot of it, like that week was like definitely exciting, but like it honestly felt smooth to me.
It felt smooth to us too as fans. So you mentioned something, Jade, about like you have to take so many things into consideration when you guys are launching a campaign like this. There's FAQs, like if there's going to be any backlash around XYZ, like what am I going to say? Like all this scenario planning. So half of it is you're trying to raise awareness, like you want these tickets to sell, right? And then the other half is like feeding this very engaged and very enthusiastic fandom. So like, how do you guys marry those two priorities? Because it's hard to do both, at once, right?
It is. And I think, with any artist, with any tour announcement, there's kind of general sort of things that happen that people are going to be upset about. One is the artist not coming to where that person lives. And that's the thing you really have to prepare for when you do a residency, because only the people who live there live there. So I think that that's just something that you have to like be cognizant of and be almost sensitive to, in that sort of situation. And then people are always going to complain about money. And those are all valid complaints from people. And you have to be like sensitive to that, but also have to think about the artist side of it too. And, an artist can't tour every city in the world, and tours are expensive. You have to charge a certain amount of money in order for it to make sense to put an operation on the road. So I think it's always like really knowing that those two things will kind of come into play. And then the third thing, which I think our FAQs really helped with, is people being confused about things like how tickets go on sale, what different packages are, when they go on sale for who. And I think that us just working on so many different artists and so many different tour announcements, we're pretty aware of all that stuff. And luckily with this client, they really trust us and let us, I think, put out more information than a lot of our other clients would. A lot of clients would reject the idea of putting up an FAQ, like for sure. So the fact that they're okay with that is really, really nice. And we're appreciative of that, because I feel like they let us do the work that we would like to do for a lot of our other clients that won't let us.
Oh, that's so nice. And as a fan, it's so nice to have something like that. So I'm glad they let you do that. With this campaign, were there any elements that you guys felt resonated like the strongest with the fans, or like what would you say seemed to hit the best?
Something that I think we were thinking about with content for this rollout was like, what would have Millennium looked like if there was social media? Like, what kind of content would they have been making? Like, what would their TikTok have looked like if TikTok was around in 1999 and 2000? And we were really trying to figure out how to capture that.
That just gave me literal goosebumps, Cassie. So how did you guys balance, like, because you're doing a lot of these redo elements, like the photo shoot, we got to see some really cool behind the scenes. And we were also seeing like the inside pamphlets, like the elements, the old photos turning into today. Yep. How do you marry like the nostalgia element with also the new? Like you said, we should all be prepared that this isn't just a copy paste of the original Millennium. It's 2.0 for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, originally, like, another one of my hills to die on was the elements. Like, I'm going to be honest, and I think you guys probably will see this through different interviews and stuff. I don't know if the Backstreet Boys understood that we cared about the elements, if that makes sense.
Like, as a fandom.
And this is why, and you'll see this in a lot of these, there's a lot of interview footage coming, I'll say that. You will see this theme where they basically are like, I mean, I was assigned X element, and so I like put on an outfit and did it. Like, to them, it wasn't like what we're thinking. You're like, I am the earth, and I am the sun, and I am the fire, and that's how we look at it. But they're all like, what was I again?
That's like, no, that was like astrology for me when I was eating.
Exactly. And so I do think, like, if me and Cassie were not on the team, that part of the album might not have gotten shot. I truly believe that. It was also very expensive to shoot, because when you think, like, you've now seen, like, we call it the grayish look, which we all know what that looks like, and obviously the white look, and, like, they were all shot on the same white background. Take the picture, done. We had to build, not we, but, like, they had to build sets for all 5 of these element looks. Like, that was a very high dollar part of it. So, yeah, I died on that hill, and it happened, and it was great. But, I mean, I'm literally pulling out, I should, like, pull out my stuff for this. Like, I'm pulling out, like, my old, like, planner that was like, do you see, I bought this, and there are these important photos, and like I'm pulling out the tour booklet, and I'm like doing all this stuff. And so, like, I bought the Brian 8x10 on the tour because I really liked his air element, like all this stuff. That was really cool to do. Like, to me, that was the coolest part. But as far as like kind of pairing everything together, like, I think I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction, which I think will like kind of pull it all around. But like to describe like the way these days went when we shot all this stuff. It was 2 days. That's it. Everything was shot in 2 days. And so the first day was kind of a lot of more studio stuff. And the second day was kind of a lot of more video stuff. So, and some stuff you guys haven't even seen. So I can't even go into like super detail, but I'll kind of go into detail the first day because that's a lot of stuff you have seen. So the first day, it was in one big, soundstage space. And it had the white background where, I'm sure you've seen in photo shoots, like the, seamless white background. And a lot of the main shooting was done on that. So the look you guys see that we're calling like the jean look, that's like, the cover of Hey. And like even that looking blue, it was on white. It's just edited to look blue. Like it was a white background, And then obviously the white Millennium look, which looks like, you can tell there's graphic elements to make I don't know if you call it a tunnel or whatever. We've all kind of called it different things, but that like, that Millennium look. And then the grayish look, that was all in the same place. Like we could have just done that and called it a day, but that was kind of one setup. The next setup was each of their elements. So some of those element shoots were shot on the stage. Brian and Nick were both shot in a wooden box. And like, I think you can kind of see that, but like I watched them build it. It's literally like a wooden box and they start like lining the inside and all of that. So they both shot in the box. And then Cassie kind of set up her space in really the hair and makeup room. And she really focused on like very modern content, like TikToks and lip syncs and sing along, all that kind of stuff. So she did that and she had people on her team focusing on that. I set up a more like traditional, like interview space. So I had like the director's chair. They would sit in that. I had a camera. I had a crew that was doing like sound crew. It was like Helen, but like, I had I have it up there, my little clipboard that says, Helen brought that. I love it. It's my favorite. And I'm just really obsessed with interviewing people. Like, I was on the high school newspaper. I worked at Radio Disney, was an interviewer. Like, I just love that element of like the music industry. And like, I think I would have probably been a reporter or a radio DJ or a magazine, editor if I didn't do this. So I asked the hard questions. And so I did a lot of like long form question asking to them. And this is some stuff to come. And I think some of it will probably be out by the time this episode comes out. But I pulled some different like key videos and like TV moments and things and was like, tell us the story, react to this. I brought my own personal box of Backstreet Boys merchandise. I was like, here is this. Tell me about it. And then just some other like very introspective questions I posed to each of them. So I don't want to share with you like what it is, but like later I will like post on social media. Like my favorite question was, it's not anything you're going to think it is, but it was basically asking if something happened that I never got confirmation happened. And they all confirmed that it did happen.
Oh my God. You're getting the questions answered for us.
It was great. It's really not important, but it was like this like thing for me. But yeah, it's cool. And I think the coolest thing is like, I said to Natalie today, who works for us, we were going through content. And I was like, there are probably only 2 Millennium tour books that have ever been handled by every Backstreet Boy. The one they all went through to approve and mine.
Dead.
Wow. Cassie, do you have a favorite element of the campaign that you could speak about?
Oh, I thought I went to
I want to know what your favorite element is because obviously it's steel.
Oh.
I mean, yes, steel is definitely the quintessential element of the earth. I really liked how Tierney dyed Brian's outfit, the windbreaker, but I thought that ended up looking really, really, really cool. But I think my standouts are still the stuff that haven't been seen yet.
It's so hard because like it's the thing you want to say, but like
we totally get it.
And then there's one piece of content that we shot for a holiday that I'm really excited about that piece of content when it comes. But there's basically a holiday that we shot some stuff for that hasn't been.
Part of it's been shown. There'll be more.
Yeah, but it'll be good. But I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Do you guys like cram all this? Like when you get like 2 days with them or something, do you like do content for the Sphere and then like do content for upcoming holidays?
It's hard. I mean, like when you get time with them, first of all, it's not just us that has time with them. It's not like, here they are, they're yours for the day. You have people there from Live Nation shooting. You have people there that are doing the official photo shoot. You have us doing content. And like I said, we had people like I was on cameras doing sit down content. Cassie was on phones doing TikTok content. Like the labels there are shooting stuff. So like everyone is pulling them in every direction. And it's really like, okay, like you go here, then you go here, then you go here, then you go here. Okay, has everybody seen every Backstreet Boy? And the thing is, like, I will say, just the way that particular day worked out, we got generous time. And I think it's just kind of the way the day worked out. And like, I truly recorded everything I wanted to record, or at least every idea I had at that moment. Now I have others that I'm like, what? I think.
I think the days where they have individual shoots is where we get more time with them, because when we're getting to shoot stuff for social media, like it's usually built around another production. So like it's like a photo shoot and like we can build in time. So when they have individual shots, they're waiting around. So that's when we can get more time with them. But the director and producer of the photo shoot was very generous. They basically built in time for us to have them on the same sets that they were shooting the photos on. They basically gave us like, you have 10 minutes after we finish photos to do socials. And so we don't get a lot of, like, that's how narrow it is. And just so you know, like a lot of times 10 minutes turns into 4 minutes. So you have to, like, when you're planning content, you have to sort of have it in priority and be like, okay, there's 3 things I want in the 10 minutes, but if I only have time to get one of them, this is the one. And that situation happens all the time. So you have to have your list, have it prioritized, and you have to move through it like really fast. So like if you want to shoot a TikTok with them, for example, you have to have somebody like on standby with the sound ready to go. You don't have a minute to fiddle around and like find the sound and do it. Like what we actually do to shoot a lot of TikToks and anything with music is we actually pull the audio file and have it count down and then start, so that we don't have to fiddle with doing it in the app, because just for like saving time.
I'm learning so much.
Because these days are expensive, right? Like you have 30 people on set, you know, running a photo shoot, and like you just don't want to be the reason why like they go into overtime and it costs thousands of dollars more. When somebody's this busy, you have to be so concise and make the most out of 10 minutes. I think we're really good as a company with doing that with the artists that we work with.
And when you guys are planning this content, like if it's like hopping onto a funny TikTok trend or something, like you guys pick that out. Have they ever been like, what is this sound? Like,
I mean, we've been with them for so long. We know what they will do. I mean, one, we know the brand. And I think that's the key thing. It's not even like what they will do. It's like, oh, this would make sense for the Backstreet Boys. And so like, you know, every now and then they're going to say like, I don't know, you know, but like for the most part, I think we've nailed what we do with them. You know, I think we know what fans want. We know what they like. We know like this one would go to AJ, this one would go to Howie, like type of thing. Sometimes you get like, actually it was funny because we were going through my interview videos today and I have 40 minutes of interviews with Howie and we couldn't figure out like why there were 2 videos, why there were so much. I was like, oh, I remember why. Because he shot his solo stuff first and the other 4 guys went. And I remember he came over, he's like, do you need anything else? I was like, sit down. I can think of something. So I have a ton of Howie. I have like more questions with Howie than anyone else. Because he would like, that's Howie. Like Howie's like, how can I help? Do you need anything? Like, he's just so kind like that. So I was like, yeah, we have a lot of Howie footage. So, but you know, when they're all shooting individual, they're coming at different times. So like Ryan's call time might be a different time than Howie's. He was just first that day. So like he was just kind of standing around by that point.
Yeah. And it's like, I think sometimes it keeps them more awake and ready to shoot if they're doing something with us versus like sitting down and lay on a couch or falling asleep or eating or whatever. We'll entertain and get content. But something else you have to take into consideration is, you know, this, like, for example, this stuff was shot in June. So you can't do real-time trends. You have to like think about stuff that is evergreen or try to get them before they're dressed. But then a lot of times they're not camera ready before they're dressed and don't want to be on camera. So like that part can be tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have mastered the art of bringing the nostalgia to the forefront. And it sounds like you guys were able to sneak in some of your favorite nostalgia moments. Jade, I love that you pulled from your own personal collection. Like, that's pretty iconic.
Oh, I think the funniest thing was like, Kevin's like, where did you get this? And I'm like, from my house. And I feel like he's the one that doesn't get like, oh, she's a crazy Backstreet Boy. I can't say it was like, what? I'm like I bought that program on September 17th, 1999 at the Millennium tour. Oh, who are you? Like, who do we hire?
So like as a fan, there's going to be so many nostalgic elements for us, obviously for you. Did you notice any nostalgic moments on set from the boys or anyone else on their team? Like,
I mean, I felt like that just kept happening. You know what I like? I like when different ones were shooting elements and like the others would go and cheer them on, like, because they'll do that. Like, yeah, Brian, or whoever, you know, and they're just like all watching it and they're very into it. But, you know, I think one of my favorite things about being around them is that they talk about the past all the time. Like they tell stories, they bring things up. And I'm always noting, I'm like, no one knows that. No one knows that. Write that down. Like the world has never heard that. Because like they don't remember what they've said and what they haven't said. And I'm like, that's interesting. Nobody knows that fact. So I feel like they are always reminiscing. And, I think of it this way. It's like they're humans all the time. They're only Backstreet Boys sometimes. So it's like, I only see them as Backstreet Boys, and so it's like they go and do life and then, they get back together with their friends that had done this thing together and you start reminiscing. And so I feel like I hear a lot of conversations about things. Remember when, and this happened, or we were at this venue, and like, I hear it all the time. So I feel like that sentiment is like kind of constant.
And I would say another thing that I like about being on set with them when they're shooting like individual pieces versus as a group is that they do sit around and like watch each other's shots. And it kind of feels like if I was sitting there watching it with like my friends from middle school, like we have the same commentary on watching Howie sing something. It's like, like you're fans of the Backstreet Boys too. We feel the same like emotions and sentiment about like the songs and like what's being filmed and like what's happening. And I find that really interesting. And I'm like, it feels like I'm watching you all with my like friends, but like I'm watching it with you, but you act the same way. It's a really like surreal experience, but it's hilarious. And also really cool. It's like, like you like your brand the same way like we do. That's really awesome.
So incredibly special. And I mean, we just have to thank you both for everything you're doing to feed the fandom, to make this rollout so exciting. This was like the most exciting thing that's happened to us. Like, ever. Like ever. So thank you for staying true to the fandom and thinking of those unique moments that we all know and love. And I've been reminded of so many things, like holding a CD cover when I was 9 years old, like falling asleep with it. It means so much to us to be able to revisit it in this way. So thank you for the
I mean, it is the pleasure of my life to do this job. No question. Boy, let me tell you this story. So we're going through the tracks on the album. We've pushed the sphere a lot. I was like, we got to push the album too. Like, it's really a balance of going, are we doing both? Are we doing both? So I was like, we had a specific call, like, what are some things we can do to expand on pushing the album? And so I was like, let's just go through the tracks. And I sat down and I basically took our Backstreet Boys team. And it's funny because I have two people on that team that have been on a while. Helen comes around sometimes. She's been working on it on and off for 10 years with us. And then Natalie has been on it her whole time at CrowdSurf, which I think is around 9 years. Grace has been on for about 4 years now. And then I have two little babies that were not born during any of this. And so I basically sit down and like gave them a history lesson. I'm like, this song is the other version of I Want It That Way. But I tell the history, And I did it with like every track on this album. But during this, I'm explaining something to Natalie. And I'm explaining a B-side. And I'm like, that song was a B. I was like, this, I think it was My Heart Stays With You or something is like the B-side of I Want It That Way. And I was like the B-side. She looked so confused. And she's like, what do you mean by a B-side? And I'm like, well, in the olden days, they had vinyl records. And like, I'm going into all this. And like, this is what it came down to. She did not know, because she did not experience this in her life, that I would go to the store and buy a CD single. She didn't know that was a thing. So when I'm going like a single and there's a B-side, she's thinking like at the radio, like she didn't get it. And so like I went in my closet and I'm like, this is the I Want It That Way CD single. And she's like, I had no idea that was a thing. Like, no.
Yeah.
Idea. And I was like, oh yeah. And
that's how you charted.
Yeah.
Those were a big part of charting.
Yeah. Just had no idea that was a thing. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what you did. Like you went to the store and you like bought the single. And I was like, before that, I bought it on a tape. And I was like, when a tape, there actually is like a B-side. And so you flip it over and it's a lesser known song and it's whatever. And she's just like, I understand where you're going. I'm like, I was very confused as to like what you were talking about. Because I kept going, this is the B-side. This is the B-side,
Wait until she hears about how we used to get concert tickets.
Right?
We had a conversation about that recently. It's like you either have to go to the venue or you have to wait at a grocery store for a machine.
The other day I was up in Richmond and I said, that was the grocery store I bought my first ticket to see O-Town.
And you try to like figure out which grocery store is going to have less people. It's like, okay, which grocery store doesn't have like this demographic in this part of town? Like, I'm going to go there.
What I would do is I would call around and be like, what shows are you selling? So like, instead of buying like a DC show, which somebody in Richmond would be more likely to do, I'd buy Charlotte because they would go on sale at different times. Like those tours didn't go on sale all at once. And so like, if Charlotte's going on sale, it might be a different day than like a DC. And so I would go to the grocery store and be like, I'll take the furthest away concert and plan that. And then I could be the first person in line or the only person in line because nobody was there buying that ticket.
That's a good idea. And if I could drive, then I would have just drove to another city.
Yeah.
That didn't have a show.
That was how I got second row tickets to the Millennium Tour.
Everyone's playing checkers. Jade is playing chess. She has figured it out. If only we could go back to those days. I hate Ticketmaster.
Oh my gosh. Where to go? I was looking at, hold on, I'm going to grab it because I have my ticket from that show and the prices are hilarious.
It makes me sick. I still have like a never gone ticket stub and it was like $40.
I remember I bought a scalper ticket for Millennium and it was like $75. And that was a scalper ticket. It was like a bad ticket. So like the upper deck was probably $30 or something, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So these are my first 2 Backstreet Boys tickets. The first one was just like the Backstreet Boys tour, and that was $22.75. And then Millennium was $38.50. I saw the Millennium tour twice. The first time I saw the Millennium tour was in like the 200 section. That was $38.50. I don't have my ticket here for the second row one.
I'd do anything to go back. I hope we see you guys in Vegas.
Yeah.
I will
What
be in
days are you
Vegas.
coming?
Opening weekend, all
Okay.
the nights.
Cool. That's awesome.
We're going to brave the pit. We're a little scared, but we're going to be there. And then Sunday night, my mom is coming and we're going to see it together for the first time in 25 years together. We can't wait.
Cute. I love that. I'm mostly scared of like the sphere.
I'm scared too.
Everyone needs to take like a Zofran.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to overwhelm me or not.
I think it's going to be great. We all live our lives on screens anyways.
Yeah.
Like it can't be that different, you know? It'll be good. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for all the hard work that you're putting in. We see you. We appreciate you. And we're going to repost literally everything you ever touch because it's just gold.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, that was our conversation with Jade and Cassie of Crowd Surf. My cheeks hurt so bad from smiling at all of their stories. And I think I got goosebumps like 18 different times when they were
know.
telling us what to expect.
They have the best stories. They're so easy to talk to. And I'm so excited this time. Like, I remember seeing them in Cancun and we hadn't met them yet or talked to them yet. But I was like, oh my God, it's the Crowd Surf girls. Like, I pointed them out to Kelsey, like a celebrity was in the building. And so now I'm so excited to see them like IRL at the Sphere and be able to be like, hi.
No, and just, I know we thanked them like 18 times on the podcast. I didn't want to like fangirl too hard, but I appreciate so much the care and consideration that they take into like Millennium is an emotional album for so many of us. Like for many of us, I think it's safe to say this is like our favorite piece of music of all time, or it just came at such a pivotal time in our lives. So to see it being rolled out so thoughtfully, every element being so carefully considered, it means a lot as a fans. And I just love that the Backstreet Boys team has fans on their side. Because like she said, they don't even like remember some of the most pivotal things that were like, how could you not?
I feel better knowing that we have them keeping things on the rails.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you again to Jade and Cassie for joining us. We're just so even more excited for the Sphere, if that could even be possible.
Yeah, like, and Cassie said some of her favorite content is yet to come. So just can't wait to see what they still have up their sleeves because we have like, 80 days or something? Like, we got some good stuff coming.
We're so excited. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to leave a comment. Tell us what you thought. Follow us on When They Popped Pod. And if you haven't, make sure you're subscribed.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.